reported that. So yeah, Star Blast is degenerate, and it puts your opponent in a state that they cannot possibly try to get out of. And that's not interactivity. And so there are other channels, there are other YouTubers, there are other people on Reddit and forums, and they talk about degeneracy, and they stand behind this banner. And I'm not saying that this banner is wrong. I'm just saying that there's more to this banner. They stand behind this banner saying that degeneracy is defined by inhibiting interactivity, inhibiting interplay. Again, because what is communication at its base? It's interaction. It's give and take. Is it maybe it's technically communication? Faux communication, one-sided communication though. Faux communication if you're talking at a wall, if you're speaking, you're able to project to something that then cannot respond back to you. Like that's not that's not true in pure communication. So people will stand behind it, be like, I think that something is degenerate when it doesn't when it inhibits interactivity. And I agree with that. I am in that camp. I am all on board. But I think that we need to refine our definition. We need to enhance how we define, how we describe, and how degeneracy is labeled, and so it can be more easily identified. Because, like I've been saying, I think that degeneracy and not promoting interactivity can have permutations. And I think that there are an alarming amount, an absolutely alarming amount of people in the community who frankly take advantage because there are elements of the game that incentivize that behavior, and I think there is a burden on the community and not just Konami. There is definitely, I'm not going to say, Konami doesn't have or need or shouldn't shoulder responsibility for this. No, they definitely should, but they shouldn't have to police everything. I mean, it's silly that they give us a seemingly innocuous reward card like Star Blast. Or have to worry and they have to just turn over in their dreams, and stay up at night, fretting over, oh my God, what did we give them? And people fretting and freaking out, God, this box is lame again, or these reward cards stinks, or these skills are awful. Well, it's because the community abuses and ruins and just runs amok like insolent children with whatever Konami gives them. It's literally the definition of this is of the meme or the quote, the joke of this is why we can't have nice things. It's because Konami doesn't trust the player base with them. And I think part of it, needs to be on Konami, to be able to bring the hammer in a fair enough, decent enough, judicious way to prevent, inhibit, discourage people from engaging in that behavior. But I also think it's important for the player base, and that's what we're trying to do here on this channel, and I'm trying to influence elsewhere, people to not do those things because it's wrong. And I have a good friend. Yeah, I have a great friend. He appears in chat, and some people are probably familiar with him. And don't worry, I'll scroll down and I'll see the rest of what everyone's saying after I don't know, finish my I don't know if this is a rant here. His name's Nick, and he's argued with me. He's posited that that unless there's a consequence to discourage people from doing something, they're going to do it. And I disagree with him. Edu has been present in chats when we talked about this, and I think Epic Stab has as well. So, and I give this example. I'm like, okay, let's say that it is legal, that there's a legal loophole for thievery, for theft. in your country, in your community. And whether it's a local ordinance or state ordinance or national ordinance, like all the way down, where there's this loophole that it's while it typically under normal circumstances you cannot steal something from someone, or that's illegal if you can meet burden of proof and prove beyond a reasonable doubt, and all the evidence lines up, and then the jury finds you guilty and sentencing. Assuming you could, of course, and that's a lot to assume, but assuming you could meet all of those, but there's a loophole where if a child is unsupervised, and unsupervised is defined as being like 10 feet from their parent or guardian or whoever's in charge of them, and the child in this case, in this exception to thievery, is like 10 or under 8 years old or younger, and they happen to be that age, that it is legal to be a grown adult person who's like competent and aware of their actions and what they're doing, to go to that child or group of children, if they're at least let's say hypothetically, I'm using the I'm not using the metric system because here we are in the U.S. Even though everybody else uses the metric system. Let's say for argument, let's say 10 meters. It won't be fair to the international audience. 10 feet, 10 meters from the nearest adult, and they're able to go to them, and they're able to just commit theft. They're able to just take whatever they have, candy. We're playing a trading card game. They take their trading cards. They take their drinks, their sweets, their toys, whatever they have, and then the parent or even the police. Let's even level it to the level of a trusted police force or enforcement agency of those laws. Perceives that, and literally sees this grown adult person can take these items from these children, and the children do not like that. They're outraged, they're anger, they're in frustration, and it just takes them. And the parent, screaming for help, screaming and perceiving this at the officers. She's standing there, but she's still not in 10 feet of the kid. And the parent's screaming there, and the officers just standing there, their arms are shut. They're just like, it's not nice, but unfortunately we can't do anything about it. And the parents are screaming like, what are you talking about? You see, what you should have done, ma'am, he's completely, there's legally a loophole for him to do that. And the community as a whole has found that acceptable. Ma'am, what you needed to do was go and be within 10 feet of your children, and then call for 10 feet, 10 meters, and then call for us. And then it would be legally, our responsibility to come and arrest and, file the paperwork, etc. to say that, hold this person criminally and say that they had committed a crime. It's just silly. And this sounds silly, but this is, my God, this is the Yu-Gi-Oh community when it comes to these things right now. And there's and people expect, and it's not just a Duel Links problem. This happens in the TCG, where people will do these really rotten, degenerate things to someone to their face, with someone who's potentially at least lives in their country or in their community. In some cases, in their community, if they're at a locals tournament, and just to their face, playing the interactive card game, and they do this thing which it can pretty easily be deduced. If I can do it, I'm a noob here. If I can deduce this, it can pretty easily be deduced as pretty rotten, pretty not in a sportsman. There's no sportsmanship here. To just cheat games and rob someone to their face. That's just really gross. But there's perpetually this sentiment in the Yu-Gi-Oh community. I know for sure, and I won't branch out to say in other trading card games. I won't go that far. I'm not gonna say it's not possible, but I will definitely say I see it, and I know Yu-Gi-Oh, and I know what's going on and happening in this, where people will do that. And I don't think if Konami's the police that they should have to police everything like that. There's a duty, there's a responsibility on the player base to deal with and address these things. for people to have a sense of shame, a sense of, frankly, self-respect, or humility, humanity, to recognize that what is fun about the game, or why people want to engage in it, is the interactivity. And that you just shouldn't just cheat, steal, or be degenerate with the tools or the cards that you have just because you can. In the same way that if there's a legal loophole, you know, Konami hasn't like jumped in to fill, like someone shouldn't just go over and just literally take things from someone, like a child, a rudimentary person, a developing person, because somehow there's a legal loophole for that, and they just, you know, just continue on their way. It's wrong. It's wrong. It's plain and simple. It's wrong. And I find it ridiculous, people, you know, in social media, Twitter and Reddit and other things, you know, just being like, oh, look at how I abuse Star Blast. You know, or look at back when Amato Iwado stun. You can, if you don't know what I'm talking about, you can look it up, because that was as recent as, I think, February 2019, maybe past that. But people would utilize Amato Iwado having the negative part of its a really powerful card becoming more powerful because of a skill that Konami had nerfed from a previous abusive situation. And that nerf enabling a stun deck, a very just grotesque stun deck, to just run rampant, and it got tier 3 in the Duel Links meta tier list. It's wrong. It's wrong. It's wrong. It's wrong. It's wrong. And you can debate with me, and you can post, and you can feel strongly and argue with me, and please do. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I'd love to hear your arguments. And there are exceptions to everything. And I'm not saying that they're, you know, look, like in the screen right now, what I have, I'm playing Econ in here, but like what I was trying to say, or I was trying to argue, I didn't, in the game I just played, I did not sack my opponent. I let the game state advance to a point to where, and I'm playing against, you know, a meta deck. He's playing a Blue Eyes deck. I could have done it. I could have taken his Blue Eyes. I had, you know, and Special Summon had 2 Fortune Ladies, and I could have, you know, bam, gone in for game, but I didn't. I think we need to be civil to each other. I think we need to, if the game is a communication, I think we need to communicate with our you know, typically what you call the person you play against is your opponent in Yu-Gi-Oh! And yeah, I'm not saying that we should deviate from that we shouldn't start calling the people opponent, but they're not just our opponent. You know, they're the person. If we don't have anyone to play against, then we cannot play the game. You know, my biggest shortcoming, frustration, a lot of reasons why I've like come back just hugging and esteeming and loving this game, you know, so much, especially in this format in Duel Links, is one of the biggest things I struggled with growing up, trying to play the TCG in the early 2000s, was finding people to play against, because, you know, the internet wasn't, you know, advanced along to where it is now, and, you know, I was basically this isn't a pity part or anything for me. I couldn't find, you know, I couldn't find anybody in my family or any of my friends or my community who shared the zeal and passion for this game the way I did. And so I grew up in a very rural community, and so there weren't with limited ability for me to be able to transport myself to get access to like local tournaments. I collected the cards and I tried to play the game, but I could never have anybody to play with. So that's why I feel you need to value your opponent. You need to, they're the person who's playing a game with you. Be thankful for the fact that you're having the communication, that you're playing the game. Don't be a degenerate. I mean, don't just, you know, seek to win. You know, you should try to win. You should try to answer or reach the objective of what the game is, but don't be spiteful.